Hello everyone, let's get everything started. Leilani will be here in just a minute. We do already have some questions that people have asked, so that is one thing we will discuss right away. Give just a minute. Hey, Rachel. Just a couple more minutes, let people come on. You know, you'd think I'd have this completely set up by now and figured out. There we go. Keep clicking on buttons trying to see which one works. Set up by now and figured out. There we go. Okay. So first things first, like I said, Leilani will be on here shortly, but I want to talk about a question that was asked specifically to me. And it was this last week. Somebody said, what are my thoughts on everything that's going on right now? And I've talked about this pretty much every time I've been doing this. Leilani and I have actually, I think this is our fourth one we've done together, and I think I've done one individually. And then next week, hopefully we'll see next week or the week after that, we might have someone actually interviewing me while we're doing a Facebook Live. So be sure and pay attention to my feed and see when I do that. It might be pretty cool. I love when I get to mentor people. Well, this gentleman is actually asking about mentorship while asking me questions. So it'll be the first time I've done anything like this on Facebook Live. But the first thing is, what do we do with our current circumstances? In other words, what should be our response or reactions to what's currently going on? Because a lot of places right now, we're being greatly isolated. Not necessarily in Texas. I haven't had or been isolated at all. I own two essential businesses that I can pretty much operate and do everything I need to do no matter what circumstances are going on. So I literally have not had a break. I've been pushing very, very hard. It's been an incredible year. I mean, phenomenal. We've been breaking records. We're so far ahead of last year and the year before that. This is going to be the biggest year I've ever had personally, and I'm in the retirement industry. And that's something to say because literally I've had 2 weeks in this time frame this year where we were just doing virtual appointments, and now I'm actually meeting with people face to face. But what do you do when you go to a store and they ask you to wear a mask? What do you do when you go to a store and they don't ask you to wear a mask? Me personally, what I've been doing is if I am anywhere, I have a mask with me, but I don't wear it unless I'm specifically asked to by the store. So the store itself might say, hey, you know, we would prefer that you would wear it when you're in the store. Then fine, I'm going to honor that. I'm going to respect that. I'm not going to try and set some sort of stage of rebellion or just cause a problem because it is private property. It is their store. It is their right. They can say that. That being said, hey, baby.
Hi.
That being said, if they don't, I went to Whole Foods in downtown Austin and I was like, okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey. And I was walking around and everybody else had a mask on, but I asked up front, I said, is it required to wear a mask? And they said, no. So I'm walking around and I was getting the oddest looks. I mean, it was like almost like I had the plague, but I wasn't the one wearing the mask. And somebody I posted that on Facebook and so many people made comments about, Well, that's funny. If you're a healthy person and a healthy, you live a healthy lifestyle, then this shouldn't even be remotely a concern for you. Not even a big deal, because it actually has a success rate of 99.87%. It's like 1.7% of people, 0.01, okay, what? It's very low. I had the number, it's still a little too early. I need my coffee. I already had my coffee, it just hasn't kicked in yet. But it's incredibly low that anybody ever is going to pass from this. And now we're having, there's a conflict, obviously, because we're seeing people that are basically contradicting things they've already said. So we have Fossey that's coming out there saying, everybody hide, everybody get in their caves, everybody shelter themselves. Now he's coming out and saying, it is unhealthy for us to stay like this. This could be really bad if we continue to do this. We have the CDC saying, wear masks, don't wear masks. We have the World Health Organization telling us one thing and then another thing. How do we know what to do? And here's the only thing I can recommend. Being a church leader is really tough right now, because it's a balance of, should we live in faith and know that we're not going to submit to fear? But here's the challenge. How do we do that and honor government at the same time? You know, I think it's such a challenge. Pastors, I don't envy their positions right now. It's really difficult, because you want to honor authority, but you also want to make sure we are the ones that lead out of this situation. Only a person that has a light can help someone get out of the darkness. And we have a light in us, so we can help people get out of the darkness. So once again, I think we just have to be really careful. Don't walk in fear. Like I said, I don't wear a mask when I go around unless I'm on private property and somebody specifically asks me to wear one, and I'm fine with that. So that was a question that somebody asked me. The next question comes from Rachel. And Rachel asked about the laws of attraction. And I had to clarify, because there's a lot of laws of attraction. And so I asked her, what is her definition of laws of attraction? So I'm literally going to say, in essence, it's you think of these things with all of your senses, and do they come to pass? I'm really shortening the actual conversation. But how much do we attract? And I love the scripture she used about doing all things in love and thinking about and meditating on those things. I 100% believe we attract a lot of the things that happen to us, beyond any shadow of a doubt. When Leilani first met me, she pursued me really, really hard, like almost stalkerish. Like,
oh my gosh. I will walk out right now.
You can't do that.
He is lying.
No. Okay, she liked me a lot. But did you not like me a lot?
Yes,
Okay.
I was attracted to you.
Yes.
I was not a stalker.
Not a stalker. Those laws weren't created back then. But no, anyway.
Chad?
But the point is, I didn't have an interest in her that way. But I knew she liked me that way. And then one day, literally, like I said, I put my hand on her shoulder. God said, that's going to be your wife. And I fell head over heels in love with her. I believe, honestly, she wasn't necessarily looking for me. She was looking for someone that would be a good husband, loving, loyal, great heart, whatever it is. Go ahead.
I was not looking for him. He's 5 years younger than I am.
Yeah.
I was almost 23. Was I 23? Yes, I was 23. So, yeah. He was 18. It was
fresh out of high school.
Yeah, it's almost creepy. Except that I had a pure heart.
You did. Absolutely.
So there was that, and literally the only thing that I didn't expect or care for necessarily was that he was so much younger. And of course at that time, that was, when you're younger, that age gap is a bigger deal than as you get older. So
yeah.
Anyway, but that's a whole nother story for another time. She
was attracted to the thought, I believe, of what she valued as a husband, what she was looking for in a husband. And I believe it's her desires of her heart at the time that actually drew us together. Because literally, her heart and how I got to see her and who she was, really the age thing became a non-issue, because she is right. At that time, it appeared to be a pretty big gap. But her attraction to the qualities of what she wanted in a husband, I believe God goes, I'm going to fulfill that desire in your heart. I'm going to give you what you're attracted to. What are you in your pure heart looking for? And I believe it's the same thing for me. I was looking for someone like her. I wanted someone that I never needed to worry about, is there ever going to be a divorce option? Is there ever going to be a thought of not being faithful in marriage? Is there ever going to be someone that is not going to give up? And I saw that in her. She would not. I knew right away the kind of person she was. So she was attracted to me by the qualities that was in me. I was attracted to her by the qualities that was in her. So absolutely, that's a law of attraction, as long as we're pertaining to the biblical definition of that. Because you are right, Rachel, there's some Eastern philosophies and thought processes on the law of attraction. And I don't necessarily, some of them are even karma. You do good, you do good to others, good comes your way. But that's just the Bible. The Bible talks about that. You know, whatever we think on, whatever is pure, whatever is good, then the Lord fills that. He gives us the desires of our heart, as long as we are according to his plan, his heart. I think the law of attraction is greatly influenced by, does our heart and our goals align with God's heart and his goals? And that's why we have to read the Bible. I mean, the law of attraction, yes. When I'm talking about business, how does money come my way? Because it does all the time. We have crazy amounts of money coming in right now. Why? Because we're faithful in our giving. We're faithful in our generosity. We're faithful, and when I say giving is referring to money. Generosity is referring to everything, time and everything. We love giving of ourselves. So that's naturally going to attract God's goodness. And I think that's really what happens. Yes, can rich people be rich based off of a corrupt heart? Yes, we see it all the time. Mm-hmm. But the reality is God's goodness is attracted by what our heart and our desires are. So I hope that answers your question, Rachel. If not, put in the comments and see whatever, if I can add a little bit more onto that, or Leilani can. But, I can tell you flat out, Leilani's heart absolutely attracts God's goodness. My heart attracts God's goodness. Sometimes it takes Leilani's help to help my heart get a little better, a little more compassionate. But yes. Hey, Kathleen.
Hey, Judy. Hey, Kathleen, Nessa, everybody.
Yeah, so feel free to ask more questions, any more questions. But yeah, it's just common sense here. If we apply biblical principles, we will attract God's blessing. It's kind of that balance. Can we earn grace? Can we earn what God has given us? No. But can we attract his blessings and his favor upon us? I believe 100%. He's not going to, I'll give another business scenario, because I know, Rachel, you're into the business thing and you're starting your business. But how can I hear somebody say, well, I want God to bless me. And then I look at someone's finances and it's all over the place. Or they tell me, hey, I get paid under the table. I don't want to pay taxes. Mm-hmm. Well, where's God? You really think God's going to look to bless you when you're trying to cut corners? He's not going to do that. He looks for a pure heart, a pure driven person for his kingdom, male or female. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Sierra, I'm a little late to the question, but question. When you all were dating, what standards, boundaries did you both have for each other? I wish we had better accountability partners. Let's put it that way. We did not have sex before we got married, but we messed up quite a bit. And it's because we didn't have boundaries. Honestly,
We tried, but when you don't have accountability and you don't really have, I don't know how to.
It's guidelines. I mean,
It's
it was hard to control our feelings for each other because I never felt this way for someone the way I felt for her. So it was really hard to have a standard when I was experiencing feelings I've never had before. I mean, it was a whole nother level of love when you realize the end resultness was looking from the very beginning like it was going to be marriage. Because once again, I knew from that point I fell just head over heels in love with her that she was going to be my wife. So, yeah, that's guidelines. So now let's say what we had for our daughters, because we absolutely, Leilani and I both wanted our first kiss to be at the altar, but unfortunately
that did not happen.
Did not happen. Yeah. And so once again, we didn't sleep together before we were married, but we definitely messed up way more than we should have. And so have those boundaries. The easiest way to keep boundaries. So for our daughters and my son, obviously, we want to make sure that our kids have the it doesn't matter if it's our son or if it's our daughters, the guidelines and the rules are the same. But we said, hey, there's no kissing before you get married. There's no alone dating before you get married. Why? The temptation can be too great. And honestly, what I was doing when I talked to Grant and Caleb, and they'll be the first ones to tell you, both of them couldn't quite understand why there literally wasn't even holding hands initially. And why was that? Because
when they were dating, yes.
Once they start dating? Okay. So, but there definitely wasn't the kissing, definitely wasn't able to be alone, just the two of them. And the reason why is because I was testing the young men to see if they would honor the father. If they honored the father, I knew if I wasn't around, they would honor the father. And I think that's really important. And it's funny how many guys specifically say, oh, well, why can't I kiss your daughter? Well, they love the fact that we had that rule before, but for some reason, they're all of a sudden different. And we should bend the rule for them. It's like, wait, you love the fact that we had that rule for our daughters before, and now because you're special, we bend those rules for? No. And it's also learning self-control. Because just because you're married doesn't mean you don't have temptations of looking at the man, or a lady looking at a man looking at a woman. Those temptations don't go away. You have to control that. Sin is in the world, and there's people that have impure thoughts and impure motives towards you. And so you constantly have to do this. So when I was teaching the men, our young men, our now son-in-laws, is learn how to control that. Now, we had to start that at a really young age. We were real particular on making sure our daughters and our son knows the value of who they are and what they fight for and what they protect. What would you say?
You already said it.
Okay, I said it. I'm sorry. Okay, so the next question, let's see. And also as parents, what standard boundaries do you have for your kids? We just answered that. So perfect. Okay, Leilani, answer the next question from Kathleen.
How have you viewed her contribution? That's a question for you.
Oh, wow. As a stay-at-home wife, how have you viewed her contribution? And do you see your finances as one? How do you guys handle money? Oh my gosh, absolutely, this is our money. We would not have what we have without our partnership, without our relationship. As far as what I value, I've always valued her as a stay-at-home mom. Her desire from a very young age was to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yep.
And it's funny because I remember one time at work, the female employees actually had an issue and were jealous because she got to stay at home and I was controlling my wife, forcing her to be at home. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is her dream.
They didn't really know me.
No, they didn't. That was her dream.
That's proof right there.
But no, having her as a stay-at-home mom, we had one car for 5 years or 6 years?
4 years.
4 years.
No, wait.
we had
4 years.
4 years.
We had no
okay.
car for the first 6 months we were married. We lived in Las Vegas and had to ride the bus. He wore a wool suit to work, and I had to wear skirts and pantyhose back in the day. God bless. Standing waiting for the bus in the Las Vegas summer heat.
I'm telling you what, you even made some of your maternity clothes.
I made almost all of them myself, and my mom helped me as well. But yeah, I had to wear pantyhose, which, ladies, you know, pantyhose and 110 degree heat, not fun.
Yeah.
But eventually we got a car. Really, that was only for 2 months after we moved to Las Vegas. But anyway, it was 6 months after we got married that we finally got a car, and then we only had that one car until after we moved to Colorado 4 years later. So
Yeah, that was crazy. But, you know, that was the desire of her heart, was to be a stay-at-home mom. So what does that mean? We couldn't afford 2 cars. We couldn't really afford. We lived in an apartment. Even when we moved to Colorado, we still had an apartment for first 6 months, I think it was, maybe a little longer. And so we didn't.
we lived in an apartment for over a year.
Wow. Yeah. And I think, honestly, the problem with a lot of people, and this is going to sound a little harsh, but remember, I'm in the financial world. People say they can't afford to be a stay-at-home mom. That is not necessarily true. They have expenses. The family has expenses that don't allow that to happen. Hey, I got to have a bigger home. I got to have 2 cars. I got to have, that makes it really hard for for the lady to be a stay-at-home mom. And there has to be a sacrifice for that. But we knew at the very beginning. I remember I actually was trying out for the fire department, and I actually got hired on after 5 years. I got hired on Southwest Adams County, and I had to turn it down because it would have been such a big pay cut. We already had kids. Actually, we had 2. And we had the 3rd one by that time, because it was 2 years into. I had to go through 3 years of schooling in Colorado. So I went through approximately.
Anyway.
But I knew there's no way off of the salary, because I wasn't allowed to have a second job if I went on the fire department. And so I knew that there's no way we could do that and her be a stay-at-home mom. Well, Leilani says, well, I can go out and get a job. And immediately I felt this uneasiness, almost like upset, sick feeling in my stomach. And I said, so you give up your dream and I get mine. That doesn't make sense. But
I would have.
Oh, absolutely.
And it would have only been temporarily, because that was a condition the fire department only had for the first year. And they would check your W-2. So it's not like you could lie. Not that you would. But, So, and Chad's always valued me staying at home with the children. And we've always just been on the same page about that. And so
our kids would not be who they are without her being a stay-at-home mom. They wouldn't.
And sometimes it's hard, for sure.
Especially when you only have 1 car. You know, it gets lonely. I don't recognize that. Did not recognize that at the time. I was like, hey, you're staying at home. It's got to be easy for you. And then I started realizing, because I would give her a time, hey, honey, you just go out, you have fun, you relax, or whatever it is. And I would realize quickly how much work it was to raise kids. And she was phenomenal and still is phenomenal. And so that being said, I do agree from the standpoint, Kathleen, you know, if it's your dream to do so, then make it happen. I mean, honestly, I know people's
husbands have to be on board with it.
They do have to be on board with it. I agree. And so the reality is what's the desire of your heart? Well, one of my main goals in life is to fulfill the desires of her heart. So if Leilani has, am I in trouble? Do you agree with that? Okay, I was gonna say, okay. I was like, that's one of my main things is, what does she desire? What are her dreams? And so that should be every husband's. I mean, if we're a representation of Christ, are we not supposed to fulfill our wife's dreams? And so, no, I think I agree. You have to make that work if that's your desire. And if you're in a circumstance where it can't happen right now, work to make it happen. You know,
And that's not for everyone.
No, that's true.
I will say that it is not for everyone. Some people have different desires, different callings, and I don't think that's wrong either. I mean, there's plenty of people who are in full-time ministry or have full-time jobs and things like that. And so, and that's really what they're called, you know, part of their calling, if you will. So, and there is nothing wrong with that. There is not one, everyone's story is different, and that's fine. Like, that's absolutely, I believe, how the Lord has it. I mean, everyone can't do the same things. That would be boring and not.
Well, I remember, you know, we know people who do the homeschooling for their kids. Leilani and I both know that is not our calling.
No, that would not have been a good fit for me.
There's two things I know about Leilani. Is number one, homeschooling was never option. Number two, substance living and living out in the middle of nowhere, killing and gutting animals, or
that's not happening for me.
Those are two things that would never happen.
That's you. God bless you. More power to you.
No, she would have had a hard time back in the 1900s or 1800s gutting animals and.
Oh no. Grandma and I were just talking about how when she grew up, they lived in several different houses, and some would have bathrooms and some would have outhouses and so on and so forth. And keep in mind, she lived in Iowa, so I don't know how you do that in the middle of winter in Iowa.
Doesn't it freeze as soon as it comes out?
I have no idea, and I don't ever want to find out.
Yeah, we tried camping a few times, and Leilani's idea of camping is she wants the bed made every night by someone in a hotel. So
okay, I'm not that. I can camp, but you know, I need certain.
You could camp,
conditions.
but we need to have like a.
I also don't sleep that well sometimes,
bed.
So you know.
It's just.
Okay.
But you know what?
Moving on.
No, back to that actually brings up an interesting point. I can camp. I love camping. But if I watch my wife being miserable while we're camping, when it's time to go to bed, no, that just it makes me regret it the entire time when I hear her tossing and turning because she can't get comfortable. So yeah, that's something I just gave up a long time ago. So it's okay. If I want to go camping, I'll bring my guy buds out and we'll just go camping. If I want to take Leilani, we're going to make sure it's a nicer hotel, and we're going to be able, because now we can. I mean, we used to do the Holiday Inns and things like that, whatever we could afford at the time. But now, yeah, Nicole, it is called glamping. I agree.
Yeah,
that's a really good way to put it.
Look, the reality is I have to go to the bathroom in the night, and I'm not going out in the woods where there could be bears waiting to eat me. So, yeah.
As far as what was it like to live in Hawaii, I'm just going to state what it was like growing up, I think it was pretty cool. But once I got married, and Leilani and I knew very quick that there was no way she'd be able to be a stay-at-home mom there. Everything was way too expensive. We just knew that. There's no way. We would have to find a place that was more affordable. So it was stressful. I mean, when you're paying $5, $6, $7 a gallon for milk and then gas, and then most people there, the husband and the wife both have a job or two, and then you often are living with other people, usually family members, which that was absolutely not an option for me. So, I mean, I love my family, but living in the same house, no, definitely not. But
the truth is, I had been wanting to leave Hawaii since I was probably in middle school. Just wanted something different.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, and I love visiting there. And if you live there, wonderful. If that's what your desire is, great. It just was not what we wanted.
I do remember, though, just on the funny side of things, is when we moved from Hawaii to Las Vegas, one of my thoughts I remember is, holy cow, there's a lot of white people.
Yeah, I wasn't used to that.
It's like, oh man. And then
I've been there since I was 3, and I obviously had traveled to the mainland, but like when you live somewhere and you're like, wow, there is just a lot of white people here. It was
everywhere.
Weird.
I remember, because once again, I grew up in Hawaii for part of my most influential time, and I went out to the basketball court and there's a bunch of Korean guys there. And I said, hey, can I play basketball? One guy's like, oh yeah, sure. The other guy's like, nah, we don't want him playing with us. And then I'm like, whoa, what the heck's going on here? And then I passed the ball. I'm not a great basketball player, but I passed the ball to the wrong guy. And that same guy goes, yeah, we all look the same to you, don't we? And I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? So,
it just was a bad pass.
Culture shock. Well, and if you've ever played basketball with me, you'll know that's a normal thing for me. But we both, she grew up on Maui since, she grew up on Maui vast majority of life. And then I lived on Maui as well. And then once she went to Oahu for about a year, for college. And then once we got married, we spent 6 months on Oahu.
That was part of the year.
Finishing school. I think I went to about 4 classes and I said, no, college is not for me. So yeah, it worked out well, as you can tell. But yes, exactly. Okay, how many times have we moved? Las Vegas. 2 times while we were in Las Vegas, or 3 times? 3.
Oh, this is going to take a minute.
I would say 16 times probably. We've lived in Maui, Oahu, Las Vegas, Colorado, and then of course Texas. So, but I think in
some places it was multiple locations in the state.
Yeah.
So it's been quite a few.
Yeah. YWAM in Kona, that's a great place. If you go, let me know. We have connections over there. I do. I have people I know that are involved in that organization. And I actually have a friend that's on the board of the Colorado Springs YWAM. So yeah, Rachel, let me know when you do that. Let's see. Next one. Okay, I think it would be a good class, Kathleen. We'll go back to I think it'd be a good class to teach husbands the value of contribution of a woman who stays at home and the importance of desiring today. The importance of, boy, that's a heavy one. Helping your wife, and I've not always done well in this, helping my wife reach her desires or her dreams. Well, what would you think would be a great way? I mean, obviously there was a shift where I was like, okay, I need to focus more on what you want instead of what I want. Or I was so caught up in providing for the family, I kind of pushed her desires away because of like, hey, she's doing what she wants to do. That's her desire. But what would you say, from what you know and you talk to ladies, what do you think guys miss the most?
I think, I'm not sure exactly how to do this, but I think the husband and wife just generally have to get on the same page about what those desires are. Are they realistic for your family? Are they realistic for your family ever or right now? Or can you work towards that goal? It just really depends on each individual family's situation. I think that's more of a discussion, maybe a one-on-one discussion for more information about your situation, perhaps. Because you have to be on board, and I feel like we have to hear both parties' desires and dreams and what's going on as far as if you're not able to get on the same page about staying at home or, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because...
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we've covered that topic, I think, as much as we can for, public.
Yeah.
So we have...
Yeah, honestly, it just comes down to making sure you align with each other's visions, goals, and if you're not married, I'm telling you, do not settle. Do not compromise. I hear people say, "Why? I wish my boyfriend would do that, or I wish my boyfriend would do this, or wish my girlfriend would do that." Like, if they're not on their A game when they're dating, Once you get married, it's just going to get worse. So do not settle ever. Set your standards and your values. Go ahead.
I don't want it to sound like people automatically get worse when you get married, because that definitely shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
But if you're not on the same page before you get married, getting married doesn't put you on the same page.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I mean, if you have someone that sits there and they drink and you don't like that and you think it's going to change when you get married, or someone who smokes or chews, or someone who is
has any other major issues that you don't align with,
no, it's not going to change.
You need to pause and figure out what's going on.
Well, Leilani and I talk about this all the time. Somebody says, well, my husband was never like this before we were married. My wife was never like this before. No, we knew the person before you married. We knew them after they got married. This is who they were in the beginning. So don't be surprised that they haven't changed. Mm-hmm. Now, God can do anything. The Holy Spirit can do anything in anybody at any time, as long as there's this openness and willingness to change. I believe people that have been set in ways. I mean, I've seen people, we both have, that were so set in their ways, and the Holy Spirit got a hold of them, and they changed, and they were a totally different person, and so much better.
They also had that willing heart to change. So
absolutely.
You can't predict that.
Yeah, I think if you're in that circumstance where you see challenges in your marriage, allow the Holy Spirit to work in that. And if you're watching your spouse and they're really trying to change and they're really working at things, don't give up on them. Because I constantly mess up all the time. But God knows my heart, and He doesn't give up on me. So don't give up on a spouse that's trying to change.
Okay,
next.
I think we had some more questions.
We do. Let's see. Oh, Alexi. I know. Let me get over here. I just saw it. It's about... Where did it go? I'll get there. How is moving a large family? We just did it. I mean, that's...
it's hard.
Yeah.
It was a lot. We had a giant truck, about 56 feet.
It was the biggest you could get.
It was the biggest one that you can get, and we literally had it exactly full.
Well, I actually had to get that other little trailer we had, and I had to put some of the stuff that couldn't fit in that truck in that little trailer.
We had already moved that stuff.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, actually, we had already moved some stuff.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
Technically, it was bigger than the thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's hard, and I wouldn't, it's not for the faint of heart. And then we temporarily moved into a house that was smaller and had to get a storage unit, and it was definitely not my favorite season, but well worth it for lots of different reasons. And yes, we had movers that packed and loaded and moved the majority of our things. And
that was actually part of the agreement. Once we got to a certain size house, we were no longer packing stuff ourselves, and we weren't moving stuff ourselves.
No,
there's no way. There's no way. So if you get a big house and
if you have a large family, you probably just need to budget hiring movers.
Yeah, for sure. Alexi, how did you plan chores for the kids?
Well, I tried. I think there's a lot more resources now. Looking online, Pinterest, things like that for
shot collars.
No, you know. That's why I did it. Anyway, I think there's different charts and things you can do depending on the age of your children. I think that you have to know what your child's currency is, and what I mean by that is what works for them. So, what motivates them? What is their what is going to get them to do what you want them to do? In other words, some children want to work to save money, and some children want your time. So kind of knowing what your child's love language is. And of course, there's always just do it because this is what we've asked you to do, and there's that. But I do think instilling values of working around the house and doing things is definitely an important thing. So I would say figure out what works for your family, because I don't think it's a one size fits all. Some people use a chart with stickers or different things. Some people have more reward systems. Some people have monetary rewards. So it just depends what works for your family.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I'm not a big believer of allowance, because to me, and this is just my personal opinion, this is not necessarily even Leilani's, but allowance creates a sense of entitlement. And so you get paid no matter what. If allowance implies you get paid every single week. And what we would tell our kids is, you do this job because you have a roof, you have a room, you have food, you have everything you need to live necessity, and you're part of the family. So you need to contribute. You're just part of the family. So you don't get paid to clean your room. You don't get paid to help mom clean the rest of the house. I mean, for years now, we actually have someone who cleans our house, but because we have an agreement, once we passed a certain square footage of house, we would have a housekeeper, because it's really hard for one person like Leilani to try and clean, and even with the kids, because now they have college, they got married, just things like that. Life happens.
That's just what worked for us.
That's
so
just
not
what,
everyone
yeah.
would do it that way, and that's fine, but that's what worked for us.
But I'll tell you, now still to this day, I have my kids do things that they don't get paid for, but then when it's something kind of out of the norm, I'll say, hey, I'll give you a little here, a little there to do that job. So I don't think an allowance just personally is a great thing, because kids now expect to get paid every single week, even if they don't fully complete their chores. The other thing I think is really important is when you tell your kid to do something and they'll get a reward if they do it. If they do it halfway and you still give the reward, you're teaching them that it's okay to settle for a halfway job. You don't get the reward unless you do it fully. And if that means you do it over and over again, and I remember times, especially with Zach, because Zach is someone that I'm teaching, he will be head of the home someday. And he would do a job for me and say, hey, this isn't good enough. You need to do it again. And then he would go to do it and it wouldn't be good enough yet. And I'd say, okay, you know what? You now just lost the money I was going to pay you for that, because now you've cost me time. And so do it right. It's that simple. Because what happens if he's working for a company or he's working for doing a job and he doesn't do it right? The employer's not going, well, hey, you're still going to get paid. Well, okay, you didn't put your full heart into it. By the second or third time, they're going to say, I'm sorry, you're fired. You just can't do your job. So you have to be careful what you're teaching your kids at a young age. And then all of a sudden you watch them as they grow up, and they're these little entrepreneurs, and they got these great ideas. And when you ask them to do something, most of the time it's done so well. Like Zach, for the most part, when I ask him to do something now, I just say, hey, this needs to be done. I don't need to worry about it. There's so many things that when he's healthy, I don't even have to ask him to do that. It's already done. And then he also does things at times where I haven't asked him to do it, and he just saw that it needed to be done, and he goes ahead and does it. That's one of the things I love right now, even with our kids. Rachel just did multiple things the other day, literally.
She cleaned my entire garage. And it's not just mine. It's a 4-car garage.
A 4-car, and scrubbed it by hand. Nobody asked her to do that.
Yeah.
But she sees a value in, this is also my home as well. We live here as well. This isn't just the kids doing what the parents are telling them to do. I want to take ownership, and you can generally tell by someone's car what they think of how they take care of their own possessions, or their room, or their home. If you're leaving dishes in the sink all the time, if you're not keeping your house clean, and this is guys and gals, because guys sometimes you go into these rooms and they're just atrocious. What values are you teaching your kids to honor and be a good steward of what they've been given? So that has a lot, Alexia, to do with how do you get people to do chores? They have to understand the value of what they've been giving. They are stewards of everything that God has allowed them to have. How they take care of it will often reflect on what they get in the future. So,
and I think for some, anyone knows this, some people it comes more naturally than others, and that's fine. And I've always told my children, I'm not looking for perfection, but you want to take care of the things you have and take care of your room and things like that. So it's kind of a fine, there's a balance there as far as it doesn't have to look like it's a show home every single day, but
that's almost impossible, especially little ones.
But you want to do your best to take care of things. So.
Rachel asked, I want my generation to be taught a strong work ethic, yourself included. And Rachel, you're so moldable and you're a sponge. I love your heart and how you want advice and to learn how to be better. But here's the reality. The greatest way to get someone to have a strong work ethic is to understand their identity and their purpose. If you understand that your purpose is created from your identity, you are a child of God, and He's put you on this earth for a mission to serve and help others, then your work ethic is driven by that. When you get up in the morning and you're tired and you don't feel like it, and you go, you know what, I'm doing this for others. This isn't just me involved. This is for my wife. This is for my kids. This is for the people I mentor. This is for the people I don't even know that somehow influenced in one way or another. What am I teaching future generations? So the work ethic comes from, what do you believe you're called to do? Who do you think you are? If I'm a child of God, that right there demands a responsibility to be driven to be successful in all that we do. Leilani is an awesome stay-at-home mom. She does that. Why? Our kids are a reflection of our parenting. So when they get older, we start to see truly how we parented, because now we're watching them make decisions. My kids still reach out to us right now. Our kids, I apologize. It's always our kids. These are all our kids. They're all our DNA, okay? Our kids still reach out to us and ask for advice. Why? Because we offered that to them from the very young age. But they value that. They know we're in for their best interest. I just had a conversation with one of my older kids, husband and wife, and I said, here's what I'm telling you as a father. This needs to stop right now. You need to change. You need to be better in this area. And they know, because I said, what vested interest do I have right now in whether you do or do not do what I'm asking you to do? This is only better for you and your marriage and your kids, that in the future, obviously, because how they act now is how they're going to train their kids. So your most work ethic is driven by your desire to see future generations succeed. Not just yourself. If you're doing it just for yourself, you will burn out. I promise you that. This week alone, the Lord finally released me to finish my book, Residue Living. I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning on Monday.
I don't know. I lost track.
5 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, and then 3 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, I think. But I finished my book. Why? Because I got released, and I see, it is. Now the real hard work comes in, where the editing and getting it published and all that. But I've been working on this book for
over a
year. And then I finally got released to do that. But I understand, why do you get up and do that? Why do you work for 20 hours if necessary in a day? It's because you're doing it for future generations. That will get rid of any lethargic, any sort of not having a good work ethic. Is just remember, every day we get up, it's to help others. Yeah, that's great.
So you have to know your why.
What's your why?
What's my why? Well, for one thing, I want to take care of what the Lord's given us, blessed us with, because I want to continue to pour into my family and set you up so that
Which you do so well.
You can continue to write books and be the leader you are and be the multi-business owner that you are and all of that.
Leilani is phenomenal at setting me up. When I'm tired, I'm exhausted, or I feel like I'm at my limit. And by the way, I just had a conversation with someone talking about being pushed to their limit, and they said, I feel like I'm ready to crack. And they use that definition or that terminology, saying I feel like I'm ready to crack. And the Lord showed me lava. Lava comes up in where it's hard, it cracks open, and then the new lava fills. Well, for an island to expand, or anywhere that's next to a volcano that has lava, the only way for that island to expand is to have crack, lava comes out, crack, lava comes out. And sometimes we feel like cracking, but remember, when we're operating in the Holy Spirit, that is filled back up with his glory, his wisdom, his knowledge, his revelation, and it allows us to expand. It allows us to grow. So Leilani has this natural ability. When I feel like I'm going to crack, her peace that she has in her, she has this anointing and mantle of peace. It allows me to go, I can do this. She gives me strength. Sometimes it's literally her just sitting in the same room as me, and she brings this comfort and this peace. Or she'll just come up, she'll just give me a hug, and she'll just hold on to me and not let me go. And I'm ready to, okay, I got to get out. I got to go do this. And she'll hold on to me. And I've learned now that she's literally loving me out of.
It's my version of a choker hold.
That's awesome. That was funny. That was really funny.
Why do you say that like you're surprised?
I'm not surprised.
I am funny.
You are very funny. It's like, but it is true.
Witness, note the time. Chad is laughing out loud.
No, that was really funny though, because it's true. Because her being violent just doesn't happen, well, that often. I mean, this bruise finally healed.
Oh my gosh. So ridiculous.
No, but it's so awesome because she does. She'll hold on me, and now I recognize, even though I may not feel stressed, I may not feel pressure, if she does that extra hug and that hold, I know something is wrong with me. And so she's literally squeezing it out of me, and I love that. That's so good. But that's a choker hold. I'm going to remember that. That's so good. But here's the thing. A marriage is literally, I've heard people say my better half. I don't agree with that. We are two whole people. We're two whole creations in Christ. And I'll tell you, we are a complement to each other. I enhance her strengths and I cover her weaknesses. Such few they are, but I enhance her strengths and cover her weaknesses. She enhances my strengths and really covers my weaknesses. So there's a lot of them. For every eye roll, that's generally a weakness that's being expressed. So when you see her roll her eyes, sometimes I just do it just to watch her eyes roll. I love it.
She definitely does.
I do. I poke the bear, absolutely, because I know the eye rolls. If I get 2 eye rolls and a head shake, I'm like really doing a good job. So
pray for me, y'all.
Oh, people pray for you all the time. I pray for you.
So, Nicole, you had asked, what age did you allow your kids to get a job? All of them, it was different. Mm-hmm. Most of them, it was, let's see, Ariel wasn't until after she was done with college. Mm-hmm. Everyone's just different. Mariah got one right out of high school. Rachel just recently got one, so she's still in college. And then Zach, technically during high school, he had a real part-time job, part-time. So, everyone's story is different. Every child's different. Some can handle more than others as far as a job and school or whatever. And, it just depends.
Well, it's interesting.
I don't think there's a correct or incorrect formula to that.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize too. So our 3 oldest have went to college, and Mariah ended up stopping college about her third year, which she still has an excellent opportunity to be able to finish, so she can do online. But she is at a point to where her kind of what she wanted to do versus what she found out she really loved doing changed a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, now she is she runs our office. Mm-hmm. She's phenomenal. She is incredible. She carries a lot of her mom in her, because literally she brings a peace, even though she's ornery and she's funny. She just, this wittiness about her. I do need that. Absolutely. She's one of the few that can make me laugh all the time. But, she has this skill set of making people feel at peace by the way she takes care of things. And then Ariel, of course, she completed college because Ariel wants to help. She's in recreational therapy, but she wants to be very specific. So now she's even doing continuing another,
education.
Like a certificate or something she needs now, right? So she has to take 6 more classes. And then Rachel is being a pediatric nurse. But Zach,
Well, she's not one yet.
she's
going to
training.
go to nursing school.
yes. And then Zach, we knew he's not going to college because he just doesn't learn in that way. So he's actually working for me, and I'm going to train him. I either pay him to go to college and something he doesn't learn that way, he doesn't learn in that method, or I pay him to work for me and I teach him business the way I know how to do it and the way I know he's going to receive it. And then I put a manager over him that I know. If anybody of you know Caleb Lucas, he's actually Zach's boss. And Caleb Lucas is perfect for Zach's personality. And then, of course, Josh Delgado, he's my VP of operations. He is really excellent at mentoring and being a big brother to Zach, but also taking that time to teach him business and being, hey, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do to fix it. I would rather have that than him sitting in a college class trying to learn from people that, once again, I love that meme, and I see it so many times. There's an elephant, there's a fish, there's a bear, there's a giraffe, there's a, whatever, all these different animals, and they say you're going to be graded on how well you climb this tree. And man, I mean, some animals are not designed to climb trees.
Yeah.
But in school, unfortunately, we grade on the same way people do things. And that's not the case. People learn differently. So as far as jobs goes, Leilani's dead on that. It's just when would be the right time based off of where they are to allow them to have a job. And then be very strict on the guidelines. There's certain places I would not let my kids work, just because
Sometimes
of
just
environment.
because of hours.
Yeah, hours, environment, absolutely. So are there any other questions? Because we're about wrapping up here. Okay. Well, we love y'all. Appreciate.
Well, you have to give people a minute to
okay.
type,
I'll give
honey.
you. See, there we go. Any questions? Type. See, if it was me trying to type, I'd be going.
That's not true.
Well, I still have to look at the keyboard. I can't
They
type without
haven't
looking.
changed where the letters are, though.
I don't learn that way.
Yes, you do.
Okay, guys. Well, we love you. You have a great day. And once again, don't stay safe. Live dangerously. Have a good day.
No, be safe.